Check, check, check. 1 2 1 2. Bitter Games in the building. You know what it is. I want to say, first things first. My peoples come first. My people that are here, my people that are no longer here, thought of and remembered. Now, I got a special show. I got another one. All right, I got another one. The time of day. It's a little unique for me. Obviously, the schedule's been moving around. Thank you all for being patient. And if you happen to not be watching this live, but you're tuned in, you're watching this on the rerun, hey, drop a comment. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you found interesting. But the mystery, the confusion. If you saw my social post, I'm here with the Liverpool guest. No YouTube channel, no socials. The man's a mystery. But I've had the pleasure of working with him in the past, all last season. Tremendous show, although I'm hearing whispers that the American Waffle may not continue. But that's to be discussed at another time. But if you ever see Staffy on YouTube or socials, hit him up. Be like, yo, what's the word on this American Waffle? What's happening here? All right. But the guest that I have today, Liverpool fan. And I have to say this before I actually bring him on stage. I like his approach. Him and I are very similar in the sense of I have no control of what's happening with regards to the transfer rumors or who's being scouted and who's talking to who. I have no idea. The agents do all this. The club do all this. So information comes through. Cool. Am I going to spin my wheels and talk about how they fit? I get it. Some of you want to do that and take the time to do that, but I leave that to the club. When I see them sign or hold up the kit, hold up the jersey, I'm like, all right, let's break this down. Let's actually nerd out and geek out on it. I understand that with regards to Mike. I just said his name, Mike. But there's many Mikes out there. But this is the Mike, the Liverpool fan. You know him from American Waffle. You know him on you know what? You know him on a few other features. He's featured prominently on some halftime shows. But I got to bring my man to the stage. He's blessed me with an appearance. Mike, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Talk to the people, man.
Big up, Vader. Thanks for having me. Love to be here. Best dad on YouTube right here. Drop a like, drop a subscribe. And yeah, we're here to talk about the turmoil and destruction of the great Red Liverpool. And the rise and the continual rise of the great Manchester City. The people who are saving football. The club that's saving football one season at a time. But we're not here to talk.
No, we're not talking about that. No, that's not this show. This is Neighborhood Watch. This is me, in the neighborhood. And again, a little play on words. Obviously, you can hear it. You can hear it from me and you can hear it from Mike. North American accent. All right. We don't speak the Queen or the King's English, but we love this game. We love this sport. So as neighbors, North American neighbors, looking and seeing what's happening, I want to have the conversation. And this show will obviously expand with other guests, but my North American neighbor, Mike, you see the details. I had no appearance for Mike. Mike doesn't have a YouTube channel like I did previously with, shout out to Jacob with the United Spurs of America. Shout out Marshall with Casually FC, Chelsea fan. I put their socials up or I had the icon. Mike's a man of mystery. Mike's a man. He's, dare I say, on his hustle right now. He's an entrepreneur. He's got things in the works. He's not dealing with a YouTube channel and things of that nature, but I do value his opinion. And he's got a unique take on it. So let me let you all know that this is a 30-minute time show. I value his time and I value his opinion. I'm going to ask real simple, and the clock will start when I ask this real simple question. Transfer window, 2 more weeks remaining. Changes may have happened, may not have happened. I want you to talk to this point, Mike, if you can, about the positives that have happened since the end of last season to this point.
Okay.
I'm not going to direct you either way. Whatever's been positive for you, let the people know.
Positive is that no one has been hurt. And yeah, that's kind of like the only positive that's happened throughout this transfer window right now in my mind. None of our key players have picked up a serious injury. In terms of the incomings and outgoings, We had a couple players leave on freeze. Matip, who's coming to the twilight of his career, makes
Yeah.
sense. Thiago, who I believe retired from football, makes sense. We sold Fabio Carvalho, I believe for like 20 something odd million, which is fine. I
Okay.
don't necessarily see him in Arnie Slot's pure plans, and I don't have a big issue with getting rid of him.
Because he was on
Um,
loan anyways, right? He wasn't on the first
yes,
team last season. So,
yes,
okay.
he was on loan last season. Um, I just don't see a major issue with that. I understand that you're going to have to sell some youth players, just like how we sold Bobby Clark to Salzburg, for around, I think it was like 17 million. I know that there's interest apparently from Leverkusen for Sepp van den Berg, and now the new fresh rumors are that Barcelona is interested in Luis Diaz. Um, but those are all outgoings. So far, the only incoming is a goalkeeper who will be immediately loaned to Bournemouth and won't even be with Liverpool's squad, which is future proofing, which is not exactly what this club needs at the current moment. Uh, I think this might go down as the first window in history where a major club brings in a new manager and breaks a profit, right? Because generally, when you bring in a new manager, you back that manager, you invest into the team, you give him what he needs. You at least get one signing, and I know that people are going to flip out over Zubamendi. And to be honest with you, it's yesterday's news. With, there's the narrative that that FSG were dragging their feet, and we allowed 3 days to go by while negotiating rather than paying the 51 million. And in those 3 days, that gave Sociedad enough time to convince him to stay, even though he initially gave us yes. But regardless, it doesn't matter, because even if he said no, we're talking about 51 million pounds. We
Yeah.
offered Caicedo 118 million last summer. If you're going to sit there and tell me that Martin Zubamendi is the only midfielder on the face of the earth out of 8 billion people
Okay.
who
All right.
Liverpool is willing to spend money on, then that is a major problem. There should have been a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And the second that Zubamendi said no, I should have seen the bid go in for who the plan B was, because anyone with a brain, you see, okay, I'm gonna break this down in about a minute,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
I'm with you.
So
Go
so
ahead.
so the Liverpool, currently the PR spin right now is that Arne Slot needed to assess the squad, right? Which I think is just total BS, because
Early, yeah,
anyone,
early in the
yeah,
transfer window, you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
right, because anyone with a brain would have told you what this squad needed after last season, right? It doesn't matter who the manager
I,
is.
I gotta
Anyone,
say this,
anyone, anyone would have said that Endo is not good enough to play in the six in the Premier League week in, week out. Anyone, right?
Mike. Let me just say this real quick. I I was asking for positives, but I'm not feeling the positive.
Well,
I'm,
I gave you those. So the positive is that no one got hurt and we
okay.
future proofed the goalkeeper, right?
What
That's it.
can I also point this out, just as again as a neighbor watching? Doesn't Liverpool typically do their business late though? Aren't they kind of very shrewd?
No. Recently,
No.
yes, but historically, no. Fabinho, who was probably one of our biggest signings in the past 8 years, was signed in June, right?
Okay.
Um, Generally speaking, in the past, we executed, right? Like we were quick.
Hmm.
One day you would be told, we're gonna go sign this player, right? And literally 24 hours later, like
Right.
signed, sealed, and delivered is a completely different person. Now everything is done lazily, late, unprepared, right?
Ooh.
Three
Okay.
straight three straight windows of lazy, unprepared BS transfer negotiations. 3 straight seasons of unprofessionalism. Um,
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. And this might be, I don't know, maybe it's not the way many fans want to see it. But the exits does mean what's been told, what's been said often. And I don't want to do any type of narratives or agendas. But what's been told is there's much selling before buying that your club has done in the past. So are these exits not a positive because it's money in?
no, okay, so you were going to say that we are a sell to buy modeled club. Yes. But I would say that Liverpool is not on Brighton's level anymore. Okay. Liverpool is the seventh richest club in the world.
Hmm.
We made almost 700 million in revenue. You can't sit there with a straight face and tell me that any club in the top 10 revenues on the planet has a sell to buy model. It just doesn't
Okay.
exist. I believe that this is a PR spin so that FSG can make profits. Because if you look at Deloitte's accounting of world football,
Hmm.
throughout the thousands of teams in Europe and across every league, not just the 5 major, every league, only about 2 dozen, maybe a little bit more. I'm sorry, under 2 dozen teams record a profit, right? Which
Right.
means that they ended in the green. One of those
Yeah.
is Real Madrid, but Real Madrid do that for a very specific reason, and that's only for the last 3 seasons. Outside of that, Liverpool is on that list, and no other no other team that is even in contention for any trophy on any board breaks a profit. So to tell me that we're a sell to buy club for sustainability is BS. I
Okay.
just think that that's just the
No.
club doing a spin in order to pull money out of the club and essentially kind of be like ambitionless without being
Yeah. No.
ambitionless.
No. Look, this is this might require a little homework because obviously a lot of time has passed, and I don't want to dwell too much on Jurgen Klopp, but when he did come in, and I don't believe that he came in at the very start of a season. I could be wrong, but I think he might have come in midway or something.
Yeah.
Would was he backed from the jump?
Okay. So initially, I believe that first summer we made some signings, one of those being Roberto Firmino, if I'm not mistaken, and one of those being Sadio Mane, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. We weren't dropping Hollywood numbers, but I'm
Yeah.
not asking to drop Hollywood numbers today.
I hear
And
it.
we wouldn't we wouldn't have, I mean, 51 million, let's be honest, that would have been an absolute steal for someone like Zubimendi. Like
Mm-hmm.
that player's worth north of 80. Um, so, I'm not sitting here asking for a Ferrari, right? I don't want a Bugatti.
Okay.
I just want
Okay.
some more Toyota Corollas that I know that could eventually turn into Supras. You know what I mean?
All right. So this is interesting, and the conversation with, again, one on one with a rival to find out the kind of like the ins and outs behind the scenes. I really did expect to hear a little more, and only because
Positivity?
yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, okay, I'll give you one positive point. I don't think that right now, with no signings, it means like the death of Liverpool. Like, I'm not gonna be dramatic, right? There
Okay.
was a
Yeah.
there was a 14-point gap between 4th and 3rd last season, right? Aston Villa finished with 68 points, Liverpool finished with 82, Manchester City finished with 91. So
Yeah.
there's 9 points between us and the champions and 14 points between us and 4th. Do I think that we're gonna drop 14 points? No. Do I think that Aston Villa or Newcastle United or Tottenham or Manchester United are gonna be 14 points better this season? Probably not, right? That's 4 more wins than last season and 2 more draws, however you wanna chalk it up.
I hear it.
But that's a significant improvement. But do I think that we're gonna be 9 points better? No. Do I think that we're gonna be 1 point better? Probably not, right? I heard some people. I mean, the idea that someone would say that we could score 86 points this season is mental. If we score 80 with this club, with the way that it is, with no incomings, I will be flabbergasted. I will
Hold
be
on. Hold
I will
on.
be
Hold on.
flabbergasted.
So is that okay? Are you more so saying that because of the strengthening of the rest of the league? Because
I'm
your
saying that
your
that
spine is very good.
I
Liverpool's spine is incredibly
what I'm saying is that I don't think that without any incomings, we will fall out of the top 4, is what I'm saying, which is a
okay.
positive,
Yeah.
right? Like, because you stay in the
Okay.
Champions League.
Yeah.
But the problem is that to say top 4, that's like, I mean,
No, don't do that, Mike.
from
No,
yeah, no,
I can't let
from
you do that.
Liverpool right now to be saying that we're gonna make top 4 is like, the same thing as City saying that we're gonna get relegated. It doesn't make any sense. It should not be even in the question. It should be we're competing for the title year in, year out, um, from where we are.
Okay. As you say that, then I must think that you also give, or you must have a lot of confidence in your new assigned manager, your new
I think
appointed manager to say come in and Liverpool still to your point, top 4, that's automatic even with a new incoming manager, or Is that another positive where you're like any other club, new manager, you wouldn't expect it to remain the same?
I think Arnie is very this is a very specific situation, because of how similar his play style was to what we were already doing in terms of the 4-3-3. The
Okay.
fact that he likes to run a double pivot, but rather than running a 6 destroyer like Fabinho, he would rather have someone like McAllister or Zubimendi, someone
Right.
who's press resistant, someone who can be quick on the ball. I think that the style of play that we exhibited in the preseason is fantastic. I mean, we were playing teams off the pitch, and it's preseason, but I mean, we have half youth, half starters, and we're just blowing teams away with our style of play. And I think that Arne Slot is the kind of manager that can work on a tight budget. I mean, what he did at Feyenoord is, beyond impressive. And I think that, you know, with him particularly, I don't imagine a fall off
Okay.
given the proper investment. Now the problem is that you're essentially chopping off one of his arms here, and you're putting him in a position to fail because you haven't given him anything. Um, and if anything, you've actually taken away. I mean, last summer we were talking about how we didn't have enough guys in our squad, and this summer we have less, and people are still excusing FSG for the way that they're running this club, and they're still trying to be optimistic about what we're looking forward towards. I mean, just to give some perspective, we were 3-7-2 against the top six last season. We took 16 points out of 36 points from all of our games
Okay.
versus the people who finished in the top six, which
Yeah.
is nowhere near enough to win any sort of championship with this league. And to tell me that just bringing in a new manager and a new manager alone, you can increase that 16 points is a little bit ridiculous in my mind from a footballing perspective. That doesn't make any sense. That one guy alone
I hear
would
the
simply turn
context.
that
Yeah.
around.
I see how
Um,
you're looking at things. I I also, and again, there's a time and a place to run agendas. There's a time and a place to, go tit for tat. My club's better than yours. All that kind of stuff. That's at another time. We're actually having a conversation because of this upcoming season. And again, I like to look at it often like I'm not going to use a Christmas analogy to that because that doesn't relate to everyone. But for what I believe, I think everyone celebrates New Year, right? The end of the year, the start of a new. Everyone kind of looks to not necessarily resolutions, but everyone looks to a positive change, things to look forward to.
yeah,
Going into like completely clean slate, Liverpool have a chance, as I'm hearing from you. They should be expected to do what many are already kind of predicting them to do. They should
top
they
four.
should be top four. They should be top
Yes,
four.
they should.
Where you hold the standard for Liverpool, I understand it. You hold that standard very high that they should be competing for cups and titles of all years. And this is maybe why I'm not hearing the high positivity, although you do see Slot as a very good manager. But there's a couple things to play. Last season, I think that point gap and why some Liverpool fans might be optimistic about the point gap being smaller is because I think the players were affected with the announcement. I think that Klopp announcement probably didn't keep that
There- There's an
battery.
argument there. Yeah.
So maybe the change in that. I think how many are talking negatively with regards to some of the players that are on their last 2 years of a contract or last year of a contract. For many, that's actually a positive thing. We've seen players, quote unquote, get that purple patch because they're playing for that next deal. They're playing for that extension. They're playing for that renewal deal. So that can actually be a positive for some of those players that are under contract or on that short end of the contract for you. No, you can look at it either or. But new manager, not without the Klopp announcement, you're expected to be top four just based off of the club itself. When you look at the rest of the neighborhood, when you look at the teams or clubs that were ahead of you to close out the year. Is it really not? I would say it's probably just Arsenal and Manchester City
Yeah.
that you're still
Yeah.
like. So
I mean, okay.
is it just like is this just It's a rebuild year, not a rebuild in terms of
No,
you
no.
need to get many bodies but knowing how kind of set how foundation's been very well positioned for Manchester City and Arsenal. You're kind of like, yeah, I got to bide my time this year.
I just okay. We were close last season, but
Yeah,
the reason why we fell off is because no one in front of goal could finish chances. I mean, that's essentially what happened, right? You look at the United FA Cup game, we left, 2 or 3 goals on the board that would have crushed that game before they had the opportunity to come back. You look at the game in the Premier League, we left goals on the table. You look at the game against you at Anfield, Luis Diaz missing a
yeah,
one-on-one. We left goals on the table, which essentially created a domino effect, right? Like
right.
those couple of games, if you put the goals away, I believe that everything else changes and we're all in a completely different headspace. But ultimately, the players who let us down then let us down throughout the entire season. It's just that this time we didn't get away with it, right? And so I think that Arne Slot's the kind of manager who could come into a team like this, slightly tweak the way that we play. We don't go down 1-0 as often with the same components, and we can move forward and build from there. Problem is that it still doesn't change the fact that you had those holes that need to be filled, right? Whether
Okay.
it was Jurgen Klopp or Arne Slot, we still needed a more clinical striker. Jota doesn't stay healthy enough, and Darwin Nunez's conversion rate is just too poor, right? So you needed a number 9. You needed a solid number 6 or someone who could play in that deeper role so that
Mhm.
it would free up McAllister to be further up the pitch, right? Whether it's a double pivot or not, McAllister is going to be the forward progressing part of that double pivot, which then frees up either Soboslai or Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott to be in more of an 8/10 role, going further up the pitch, doesn't have such extensive defensive responsibilities, right?
I hear it.
Then you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who can play as more of a traditional right back. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that Robertson and Arnold are going to be playing in more of wing back positions, which suits them better. That's where they're more creatively effective, right? So
Mhm.
you get the 6, you get the 9, and then you simply get another center back for cover because you lost Matip. Kwanzaa is only 19 years old. Konate is injury prone,
Yeah.
and Joe Gomez, he can do a job on the left. He can do a job at center back, but still, it doesn't hurt you to get more covered there. And to be honest with you, like if you're going to compete for a title, you don't piss and moan about a 35 million transfer for a center back who can turn into something, right? When you're
Okay.
making 700 million,
Yeah.
pounds in revenue,
Okay. I got you.
you can't sit here and tell me that you can't spend 40 million center back. I'm just not going to buy it. And
Yeah.
you could have. I mean, let's be real here. If you get Zubamendi done for 51, if you got Ignacio done for 35, 40, whatever it was, and if you had gone out in June and bought Maximilian Bayer, I'm just naming players,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that would have been like 120 million, which I don't think is crazy.
I
In
get the
fact,
profile. Yep.
that's the exact amount of money that we would have spent on just Caicedo. Um,
Okay.
so, we it's very possible that we could still compete. It's very possible that Arnie Slot could be a magician, and all of a sudden, with the way that he plays, Darwin Nunez just gets more actual one-on-one open opportunities,
Wow.
and he starts scoring. It's very possible that players don't get hurt as much because he's not running his players into the ground, right? But like they're outlying scenarios, right? This is not the statistical probability. It's not, I'm not sitting here saying that that can't happen. What I'm saying is that that's not what's likely to happen. And I
No,
want
I hear
what's
that.
likely to happen. I want to measure based on probability. So,
I knew this was going to be a challenge, Mike. I knew because you're analytical, because you're facts and figures. I knew that because sometimes, often, the optimistic point of view, the can happen, you have to kind of put that to the side. You have to kind of put the wait and see and hope or build off of the wait and see stuff. Now, the way you recapped it was brilliant. That Caicedo money, which many can't ignore, was not spent last season, and it could have been chopped up to, like you said, those 3 areas that you found or that you see as concerns or rooms for improvement to just better what you did last season. The funny thing is, the clubs below you, and I'll say below us, they've spent a great deal.
yeah, 100%.
The clubs above you, and in this case it's Arsenal and it's Manchester City. Manchester City at this point, they've lost more than they've acquired,
Oh, 100%,
right?
100%. But you guys,
No, I'm not going to let you cut me off. No, Mike, I'm
Yeah.
not going to let you cut me off. No, let me continue.
Okay,
So
continue. Sorry.
there's been more exits than additions over at Manchester
Yes.
City.
Yep.
Arsenal in particular, I think they've again for another transfer window.
They haven't strengthened.
They haven't strengthened, but they addressed what they believe to be a weakness at their left back. There's still confusion on what they're going to do within the midfield. It looks
cauliflower.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Now, when you see that, right? When you see the two clubs above you not really doing again the investment to increase a gap of dominance.
Yeah.
And now also and I don't want to do this too much, but FSG probably looking at the landscape as well. They should be signing players. I'm not taking that away from them. They should be. But when they also look at the clubs above them that aren't necessarily doing that themselves.
This is the perfect time to attack, Bader.
Okay.
Your argument right now,
Okay.
this would be the perfect time to pounce. I would argue that City are not investing as heavily as they used to because of what's going on with FFP and because of their pending legal case. It would be stupid, regardless of whether or not they're innocent. It would be dumb, right? Because if anything, if you were innocent, you're now giving the people who are accusing you guilty more ammo, right? So you're in a little bit of a gray area. And to be honest with you, I don't really think like the selling of Julian Alvarez, all that does is give someone like Oscar Bob. I know that Oscar Bob's not a 9, right? But it gives someone like Oscar Bob or Jeremy Doak
he just suffered a fractured foot or leg injury. Yeah, Oscar Bob's out for the season.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
But regardless, you guys scored 100 points without a number 9 with Pep Guardiola as your manager. So am I going to sit here? I mean, you had the luxury of being able to sell your backup number 9 for 80 million. Do I think that losing Julian Alvarez means that you don't win the league? Absolutely not. Under no circumstance. Does it mean that you might not win like a double or a treble? Maybe. It might mean that you don't win the Champions League. It might mean that you don't make it to the FA Cup final. But I don't think it'll affect the Premier League because Pep Guardiola's man management in the Premier League is second to none, and he knows how to rotate and he knows how to maintain dominance. Arsenal are a poorly run club, and they have their own people within there who are outraged at their lack of investment and the fact that everyone can see that they need a proper number 9. But it's still, if those two teams.
Hold on, you said poorly run club.
I mean, if you ask many Arsenal fans, they're not happy with the way that things are being run right now. In terms of incomings and outgoings.
Okay.
They've definitely done a good job to build themselves up to where they are, but they could be improving more. But if both those teams are going to stagnate, then this is like the perfect time to add.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great point. You look at your competition; they're not really to what you said. They're not really investing that way. And you look at if you're going to make that impact, you probably have greater impact because you're investing when they're not.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So
it gives you a full year essentially.
Now I want to kind of. I've been able to have the conversation on positive with regards to incomings and jokes aside. Obviously I can't do that with Liverpool right now, but the returning players or the players that are now a season more matured. Who are you looking in particular? Starting 11, maybe supporting players. Who this season you're like, you know what? My confidence in them is at this level based off of what I saw or how they closed out the season last year. Any player in particular, you're like, yeah, they're easily on my radar.
A few.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Connor Bradley is gonna do a good job.
All right.
I think he'll provide excellent depth to Trent. I think Trent will move more to a traditional, wing back position like he was back in the early days of Klopp.
Do you think you could ever see the two of them on the pitch at the same time?
Only if Trent is playing in a double pivot with someone, and I don't know if that's going to work with the way that Arne's going to play. But I don't think they need to be on the pitch at the same time. I think Bradley's still young, great depth player. I think that bringing Quansah out of the academy again, huge blessing. I think that that's a player that if he continues to play the way he is, will be worth 80 to 100 within the next 2 to 3 years. He will be sensational. I mean, his ability to progress the ball up the pitch His ability to score in the box and his ability to defend and his awareness is unbelievable for someone who is his age. I think Cody Gakpo playing as an actual left winger will satisfy the price tag that we paid for him.
Oh my!
I'm
So
looking forward. I'm looking forward to
Gakpo
not seeing Gakpo, Bradley, Kwanzaa.
is Gakpo displacing Luis Diaz?
Well, let's just put it this way: if Gakpo and Luis Diaz were on the pitch at the same time last season, Gakpo was essentially playing in midfield. He's not a midfielder, and I don't see Arne Slot playing him there.
Okay.
If Luis Diaz has to hold bench to Cody Gakpo because Gakpo is producing more, that's not my problem, right?
Yep.
Like you're a player. You're either producing or you're not. I don't care what we paid for you. I want to win games. So it's that simple. I think that Soboslai, there's a potential that we start seeing him on the right wing when we rotate Mo out of there.
Wow.
On certain games.
Yeah. No.
Like if Mo can't play, do I see Ben Doak being the persistent right wing backup? No. And I know that Soboslai can play in a forward line. Does that mean that he's going to play as a traditional right wing? No, but he'll occupy that. He'll occupy that position on the team sheet. And then if we play this way and we build up the way that we do, there's a potential that Darwin could potentially be good. Like the only issue is his conversion rate, right? Because he creates a million chances, and I would more chances being created for him in a system like this, where we build up quick and we play, essentially volleyball. Like we're not playing Virgil van Dijk to Mohamed Salah. We're playing, let's build up quick. Let's catch these guys off guards. Let's get a pass in behind.
I think
realistically, those four players, Akpo, Bradley, Kwanzaa, I guess those three players.
Yeah, those three players coupled with your spine, because obviously you have tremendous confidence in Allison, mentioned Trent, Van Dijk, McAllister.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Mo.
Now, I want to use these last few minutes and ask you, because again, we're in the neighborhood. We're seeing what's happening. Are the neighbors moving? Did they get a new TV? We're noticing all of this. Any clubs below you, and I know this is typically we focus on us, but any clubs below you, just from what you've heard, talking with rival fans, maybe what you've seen in the transfer window, is there anyone below you in the standings last season that you're like, yeah, they're going to be bothering me this upcoming season?
All of them. I think
all of
no. Seriously. Our record against the top six was tremendous.
Mike, all of them? How are you saying all of them?
No. Allow me to finish.
Okay.
The teams in the top six gave us troubles in our head-to-head matchups. 16 out of 36 points. Do I think that Tottenham will be better this season? Yes. I think that will be a harder game this season than it was last season. Do I think that Aston Villa will be a tougher game this season than last season? Yes. Do I think that seriously, Chelsea away is still an incredibly tough fixture for the all of those games away, I have no idea. I have no confidence. Going to Old Trafford earlier in the season, that's going to scare the hell out of me. Going to Stamford Bridge is going to scare me. Going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that's going to scare me. Going to Villa Park, I'm frightened. Going to the Emirates, I've lost 2 straight years there. That might as well be the boogeyman. Don't even get me started on the Etihad. But again, those two teams are above me. Yes, 100%. At Anfield, maybe not so much, because it's still Anfield. But away, yeah. And what's that like? That out of the 36 points, that's 18 of those. Okay. That's a lot.
Those are more challenging games than the previous season, and reason why I want, you are you are weaker. Damn, I wanted this to be a positive show. I mean, it was early on, and if you're just tuning in now, please go, drag your finger if you happen to be on your device, or if you're on your computer, drag the mouse, pull the cursor over at the beginning. Questions, what Mike had to answer. They were very positive. Yeah, I don't want anyone tuning in now and not thinking that anything positive wasn't said earlier. And I'm gonna get to the comment. this is a tough. And I want to ask you this just to try to get the perspective. How many points did you just have because you had Jurgen Klopp as your manager?
Okay, that's a really tough question.
Hey,
That's entirely subjective based on who you're talking to, because I would
I'm
argue
talking to you, Mike. I only
because
care about
so
your opinion.
so my argument would be that the better question would be how many points did I lose?
Wait.
Because
How you saying the better question? That's rude of you.
well, no. Okay, I'm sorry. The
I was
question that
messing
comes
with
to
you.
my
I'm messing
mind
with you.
is
Okay.
the question that comes to my mind is not how many points did I gain because of Jurgen Klopp, but how many points did I lose because of Jurgen Klopp? And I would argue that I lost a lot of points because my manager continued to field the same team with no changes over and over and over again, week in, week out, fielding the same front three, missing the same opportunities, playing the same exact way, going down 1-0 the same way over,
Oh my gosh.
over, and over again. Are there times where, you know, Fulham at home? I mean, like, to sit here and say
How'd
that
you flip that on me, Mike? How'd you flip it on not the amount of points that he gained for you, but the amount of points that he cost you? Like,
because in my mind, many of our faults were simply down to the way that we played and Einstein's definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over while expecting a different result, right? I don't believe in this whole the magic of Jurgen Klopp. Like we won because it was Jurgen. Like that was 4 years ago, right? Like this isn't 2020. This isn't 2019. This isn't 2018. This isn't Divock Origi ending the Merseyside derby with a goal that banks off the top of the post, right? We're
okay.
not there anymore. This is 4 years after. The reality is that over the last 2 seasons, we made minimal changes. We fielded the same starting lineups, and we made the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And everyone just turned a blind eye to that because Jurgen is the savior who brought us back to the top and won us everything once. But it still doesn't change the fact that these are objective facts. These are objective realities. Like,
Okay.
just go back and watch it. Just go back and watch it. If you're going to sit here and tell me that, well, when you play Crystal Palace and you play Everton and you do the same thing and you fail the same way, whose fault is that?
I hear it. I hear it. Now, with that being said, I hear the positive in how you broke that down. I hear the positives in Jurgen and his stubbornness and his, to your point,
Arnie could
repeating
change it.
Arnie.
Arnie
Exactly.
Arnie could change it. Like the argument can be made, which is what I said earlier, that one manager could essentially come in, make that tweak, and because I mean, let's be real, we have two aging players, right? Two
Yeah.
aging players in Van Dijk and Mohamed Salah. You could maybe argue Robertson, but he's not towards the end of his contract.
Hmm.
Will a Trent deal be signed? Most likely.
It better.
But outside of
It
that,
better.
like
You guys will have a meltdown if it's not signed.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but
I'm
listen, to
with
be
you.
honest with you, I'm just gonna be a bit of a a-hole here. If FSG aren't going to back this club and invest into it, I want all our best players to go and win somewhere else because you're not going to
Oh
win
my god.
here. But regardless, the argument can be made that a manager like Arne Slot could come in, make those tweaks, be more tactically malleable, and all of a sudden, those
I hear it.
games where we were down 1-0, we never were down 1-0. We didn't concede. And then, could you make the argument that we could do 9 points better? Yeah, sure. And
Okay.
could you make the argument that this season that Manchester City finished below 90? Yeah, I mean, I think that if there's a season where the winner is going to have less than 90 points, this is the most likely
Yeah.
out of the last 5
Yeah.
seasons.
I
So,
mean, on another uh, on a different show, my 115, I actually spoke about how this is going to be the most difficult title defense for Manchester City. But I also on a different show, I talked about how competitive this top four is, or the fight for top four is going to be. Only 8 points separated fourth and I think eighth. You mentioned something like that early in
yes,
the season,
but
early in the
it,
combo.
it, it was 14. So it was 8 points that did that, but it was 14 between fourth and third. So there's a huge gap
Yeah,
between who came in fourth and who came in third, but there's a very small gap between who came in fourth and who came in eighth.
exactly. And we'll have to wait and see on where third is amongst the group, but I think that fourth place finish is going to be highly combative. I think the point swing
75
is going to be
points-ish.
I think the point swing is going to be tremendous, especially when those clubs play against each other. Um, again, I hope you're watching this live. You're watching this on the replay. Drop a comment. Mike is a man of mystery. Everyone doesn't get a chance to talk to him. Everyone doesn't really get him one on one. He's excellent on panels. American Waffle, we'll see whether that continues or not. And you can spot him talking Liverpool when the season's in, when the marbles, when everything counts, when the money's on the table, right? That's when you're going to catch Mike. I want to thank him for his time, and I want to also say this: with all of the changes that have or have not happened, I would not be surprised if Liverpool had two signings before this transfer window closes. So I know it's frustrating. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I know it's frustrating for Liverpool fans to kind of have to wait, see what other clubs are doing, and still not have any news. And you guys typically have done things quickly, but at the same time, you've also done things and kept it pretty hush hush. So we'll see what the next 2 weeks are. I want to ask you this before I let you go.
Sure.
Your first game of the season. Can I ask you, because you're out on the West Coast, can you let the viewers know? Will you be watching the game live?
Yes. It's going to be
Okay.
at 4:30 a.m., but I will be up.
You hear that? 4:30 a.m. Man's going to be up. And again, you can't be mad at how early these games are because
No,
one,
I
you're on
live
the
here.
West Coast. Yeah,
I
you're on
live
the
here.
West Coast. Two, apparently, the word is Liverpool were the most watched club last season. And a huge portion of their fan base happened to be in Asia. So they're catering to that market. That's why you guys have so many early games. So positives going into the game. Are you calm? Are you confident?
Calm.
Mm,
For sure. I'm not going to sit here and be shameless and say that we're going to lose to Ipswich. Generally speaking, we don't have a great record against the incumbent rising team. First game of the season over the last
Can I
few years.
share another thing that's crazy? If you
Sure.
maybe you hadn't seen it
Sure.
yet, but apparently Liverpool's last four managers, they've never won their first game as Liverpool managers.
Well, you know what? Not this one.
Positive
Not
Mike is saying Liverpool are winning this one.
listen, Vader, remember,
I'm with you.
right?
Mm.
Remember, all of my negativity, right? It's not okay. So this is
It's not
I'll
negativity. Yeah,
I'm going to summarize this up very quick because I don't want to take up too much time. But the problem is that the narrative among Liverpool fans is that if you're negative, you think that we suck, right? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that will we finish top four? Yeah, like statistically, that is the most likely probability. But the problem is that we're not good enough to win the title. And so I shouldn't be sitting here and happy clapping. Does that mean that I'm just going to say that we're going to lose to Ipswich? No, because we probably won't. And to be honest with you, we will probably pick up more games against lower quality teams, right? We're not like I don't envision Arnie being like Jurgen in the sense that, we drop points to the bottom three year over year over year over year.
Right.
I see that being a change. The issue are the games against the good teams and the title race, right? Like finishing first. And also, I don't think that we're going to start to see issues until October, November, December, because we're playing in Champions League this season. There's two more
Yep.
games in the group stage. You've
Yep.
got the Carabao Cup, you got the FA Cup. We're weaker. We don't have as many players as we did last year. We have no incoming signings, and we still have to rotate. So, I don't envision us beginning to have crazy results until November, December.
Yeah, going into
So
the
for the
holidays.
for the beginning of the season, based on what we did in the preseason, I'm expecting a pretty strong start. The problem is going to be sustainability, and we already talked about probability and analytics beforehand. But I don't. I mean, I think it's going to be a tough game because Ipswich is a tough place to go, and this is going to be their first game in the Premier League in a mighty long time. So it's going to be a very hostile
I
environment.
like that, Mike. I mean, others on American Waffle would crash it on me for having a similar point of view with regards to going to.
It's going to be a tough game. Like
Yeah,
it's going to be tough, but I fully expect a win.
Yes,
like that's
of course,
like
of course.
yeah.
Yep.
It's it's the same thing with anyone else. It's not going to be easy, but I want a clean sheet and I want 2 goals, and I think that that's beyond reasonable given who we are and who we have and who we're playing.
Are you also going to be, as a Liverpool fan, do you want that opening game streak that Mo Salah has? Do you want him to score
I
as
would
well?
love I would love that. I would say that the only negativity that you could ever put on winning this first game would be that, you know, it buys FSG an excuse of, oh, you know what? We don't need a 6. We're good. You know, we don't need anybody. We won the first game of the season. We're all Gucci. Like, no need for an incoming signing. That's the only negative that you could draw out of it. I hope Mo, scores another opening day goal. I mean, honestly, I hope we win like 6-0. But
Mm.
it still doesn't change the fact that I think we need what we need, and it has nothing to do with a game against Ipswich, and it has everything to do with 38 Premier League games, 8 Champions League group stage games, however many Carabao Cup, and however many FA Cup games. It has to do with everything as a whole, not
Yeah.
one away trip to a newly promoted side.
Well, you know what? I like this because again, nothing's happened. No ball's been kicked yet. You've got Ipswich, like you mentioned, and then who knows how things kind of progress. Our schedules are all kind of crazy and stuff like that. Like I said earlier, I don't even know if American Waffle is going to continue. Put that pressure on Staffy and see what happens. But nonetheless, I'm gonna link up with Mike in some way, shape, or fashion. In a short amount of time, he's got Ipswich, then he's got Brentford, and believe it or not, he's away.
I gotta go
He's
to
away
Old
at Old
Trafford.
Trafford.
That game's gonna suck. That game's gonna suck.
So we're gonna have
Suck.
take it easy, Mike. You got time. You got a couple games before that, but that is going to be epic. So I want to thank Mike. This is Mike, the Liverpool fan, the mystery man.
Thank you, Vader.
I want to thank you for being on the show. Appreciate it. Again, hit the like, share. If you're catching this on the replay, much appreciated. And comment. I interact with every comment that kind of comes through, even post show. I'm going to do a lot more of these, and I find everyone's time so valuable. So I'm thankful for, we're looking at 50 minutes, including intro and stuff like that. So to have Mike for that time has been absolutely epic. I'm going to do a little guest feature over at TJ's channel. So TJ is going to be doing a show around 6 o'clock Eastern time. So catch me a little later. And with regards to Liverpool, it's going to be an interesting watch. And again, Mike knows this. Neighborhood watch. We're neighbors. Everything's friendly. Oh, you ran out of some flour? I got some flour. Let me help you
You're
out.
saving football, Vader. I've got no complaints. No complaints.
I kicked my ball over the fence. I can go over and say, "Hey, Mike, the ball got kicked over the fence." Now
5 straight, baby. In 5 straight bound. Vader is setting records. Records on records.
Mike's doing way too much right now. But when we see each other outside of the neighborhood, it's on. It's on site. So I want to thank you, man. Appreciate it. 100%. Everyone for tuning in. Good looking out. And catch Vader Games TV. Next show will probably be a 115 or maybe a Why Always Me. I'm not too sure. But one of those 2 shows will be my next show. And thanks for tuning in. I'm Vader Games, and I am out.